Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that cuts through the noise and gets you straight to the important stuff. Today, we're diving into something fascinating. It really challenges, a super common idea in the startup world. You see all those headlines, right?
Yeah.
Big companies, big VC rounds, hundreds of millions. And it's easy to think, well, that's the only way to build something big. But what if that's not just misleading? What if often it's the opposite of what actually works?
It really is an illusion that's kind of taken hold. Yeah. And our mission today is to pull back the curtain on this other way, a really powerful but often overlooked strategy, customer-funded businesses. We're going to unpack how companies can, really thrive by just ringing that cash register, getting customer money first, instead of always chasing investor dollars.
Okay, and our sources for this deep dive, they're great. A whole collection of real-world examples, expert takes. We've got stories from, like, the early days of Microsoft, Dell, all the way to how Airbnb and Banana Republic started, super ingenious stuff, all showing how these, tenacious entrepreneurs built amazing companies by getting customers to essentially foot the bill. So for you listening, this is your shortcut. Practical knowledge, fast, hopefully some aha moments, and just maybe empowering you to think differently about funding and growth, really differently. So let's unpack this funding illusion then. It definitely feels like the whole venture capital scene, VCs, angels, incubators, they've totally stolen the entrepreneurial finance limelight, haven't they? Like, it's almost like raising VC is the main goal now, the ultimate badge of honor or something.
Right. But what's really remarkable, or maybe counterintuitive, is the data. Mark Suster, who's been an entrepreneur twice and is now a VC himself, he points this out. The amount startups raise early on seed, Series A, it's often inversely correlated with success.
Inversely, wow.
Yeah. Think about that. Less money raised early on can actually lead to more success down the line.
That's huge. It totally goes against the grain, doesn't it? Why do you think that is? What's behind that inverse correlation?
Well, it mostly comes down to discipline and market validation. Companies that raise less cash are kind of forced to be more resourceful, more frugal. And they have to be obsessively focused on the customer from day one. They need that customer money to survive, which honestly is much stronger validation than just convincing an investor.
Right. Real market proof.
Exactly. It builds resilience, often a more sustainable business from the get-go.
Okay, so if chasing VCs isn't always the answer, what's this alternative you're talking about?
It's customer funding. Simple as that. The source material calls it a much more hospitable and agreeable source of initial cash. Because your focus shifts, right? You're not trying to win over investors. You're trying to win over the people who will actually use your stuff. Get them to pay you.
Okay, let's get into the core principle then. Customer funding. It's about a mindset, you said.
Yeah, a specific mindset, basically. Get your customers paying you as early as possible, often upfront even. And then on the flip side, pay your suppliers as late as you possibly can.
Ah, okay.
That gap, the time between getting paid and paying out, that creates cash. It's called float.
Cloak cash.
It's like having this constant interest-free loan from your customers. But it's a loan that also proves people actually want what you're selling.
Okay, so there are two sides to this coin.
Exactly. Two critical parts. First, convincing customers to pay early. Now, this only works if what you offer is genuinely unique or way better than the alternative, or gives some amazing extra benefits.
Like Amazon Prime, maybe. People pay yearly for free shipping and stuff.
Precisely. Or Costco, you pay a membership just to shop there. RiseX is another example they mention. They bought and sold old mobile computing gear. Pretty niche. Customers paid up front because RiseX had exactly what they needed, and it was hard to find elsewhere.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
But the other side, convincing suppliers to wait longer for payment, that sounds tough, especially if you're new.
It can be. Sometimes it's about leverage. You become a really big customer, like a Walmart, and you can demand better terms.
Sure, if you're huge.
But sometimes it's just pure ingenuity. Banana Republic, back when they started, they cleverly used a competitor's supplier terms to get 30-day credit from a wholesaler. Just smart negotiating.
Huh. That's pretty bold.
Yeah. And this whole approach, trying to be customer funded, it's actually a great test for your business idea, like a real litmus test. Are you actually solving a real problem, filling a real need? Because if not, customers won't pay you early, suppliers won't give you terms. The market tells you pretty quickly.
Right. Okay, this is fascinating. Let's get into some examples. You mentioned 5 ingenious customer-funded models. Let's break them down. First up, matchmaker models.
Yeah, matchmakers. These are businesses that basically connect buyers and sellers. They don't own the actual goods or services being traded. They just take a fee or commission for making the connection.
And the beauty is, they're asset light, right?
Exactly. The magic is they need no or limited investment up front. Think about a real estate agent, business cards, maybe a phone. They don't buy the houses. And the internet, obviously, has made starting these things incredibly cheap.
Okay, perfect example, Airbnb. Their start was so clever. So 2007, Joe Gebbia, Brian Chesky, they literally rented out airbeds on their apartment floor. Because there was a big design conference, San Francisco hotels were full, just saw a need, filled it.
Yeah, super simple start.
But what really gets me is that cereal stunt later. When they needed cash and couldn't get funding, they made these keepsake cereal boxes, Obama O's and Captain McCain's, sold them for $40 a pop.
Oh, yeah, talk about chutzpah.
Totally. It was quirky, got them press, got them cash. Customer-funded ingenuity right there.
And you see this pattern, Doug Vaquet, another matchmaker, but for pet sitting. The founders, Aaron and Kareen Hirschhorn, they just put up a listing on Yelp offering dog sitting. They made like $30,000 in 8 months, zero marketing spend, just pure customer demand funding them.
Wow. Just meeting a need.
But it's not always smooth sailing. There's the counterexample of Profounder. They wanted to help startups get friends and family funding. Good idea, maybe. But they failed because they invested a ton upfront in legal stuff, systems. It wasn't really customer funded from the start. They weren't lean. It highlights you got to stick to the principle.
Right. The upfront investment killed the model's advantage.
Exactly. So if you're thinking matchmaker, you need to ask some tough questions. Investors will anyway. Like, why will your business win? Is it a winner-take-all market?
Meaning one big player dominates.
Yeah. And are you solving a problem that creates network effects, where more users make it better for everyone? Is there an overpriced market you can disrupt? How much trust is needed? How do you build that? And a big one, how do you stop customers eventually just going direct, cutting you out?
Good point.
And finally, should you start super niche or go broad right away? Narrow can help you get traction faster.
Okay, that's matchmakers. Model number 2, pay in advance models. This sounds pretty self-explanatory. Customers pay upfront before getting the product or service.
Exactly. And the power here is immediate working capital, just cash in the bank. Consultants and architects have done this forever, of course,
Sure.
but it's way more versatile. The real genius isn't just the cash, though. It's like a built-in validation. Every time someone pays upfront, they're showing huge trust and a real need.
Michael Dell, that's a classic example, isn't it?
Absolutely. Dell Computers, or PCs Limited back then, he got customers to pay upfront for custom-built PCs, sold direct, cut costs. And get this, his parents put in $300,000. That was the only significant outside money early on.
Incredible. A tech giant, mostly funded by customers paying first.
And Banana Republic again, such a great story of resourcefulness. Mel and Patricia Ziegler, they started with just $1,500, selling weird stuff like short-armed Spanish paratrooper shirts.
Love it.
And remember how they got supplier credit? Well, crucially, their customers paid for the catalog and the merchandise in advance, so they were literally using customer money to buy the inventory they then sold. Genius float management.
And Threadless too, the t-shirt company.
Yep. Their design competitions worked the same way. People voted, pre-ordered the winning shirts. That initial customer money paid for the first print run. Then those sales funded the next batch. It just naturally funded itself. Started as a side hustle, grew into a real business, all on customer cash.
Even BDB works. Via.com, that Indian travel network.
Yeah, Via.com. They needed travel agents to use their real-time ticketing system, so they required a $5,000 deposit from each agent just for access. They pulled in nearly $1 million in customer funding in less than 2 months that way.
Wow. Okay, so it can work across different sectors.
But again, it can go wrong. The Loot, that Indian retailer, they started using consignment, which is actually supplier funding you don't pay till you sell.
Right.
But they ran into big cash flow problems, couldn't handle changing vendor terms, a new tax system hit them, and they failed. It shows you got to be careful relying too much on supplier terms if they can suddenly change, or understand your cash flow inside out.
So key questions for this model.
Right. If you're thinking pay in advance, what's truly different about your offer? Why would someone pay up front? Do you really get the difference between cash flow and profit? They're not the same thing. Groupon learned that the hard way.
Cash doesn't equal profit. Got it.
And if you are eventually looking for investors, be ready to answer. Why now? If you're customer funded, why do you suddenly need outside cash? They'll want a solid answer.
Okay. Model 3, subscription models. This is huge now, right? Customers pay regularly, weekly, monthly, annually for ongoing access or delivery.
Totally huge. And the brilliance is that predictable, recurring revenue for the company. Plus, it often means low upfront costs for the user, making things more accessible. Software as a service, SaaS, really drove this. Think Salesforce, Microsoft Office 365.
Right, you pay monthly instead of a big license fee.
Exactly. It's often a win-win if the model fits the product.
Tutor Vista is a great example you mentioned.
Yeah. Krishnan Ganesh started with just 3 teachers in India, online tutoring, charged $100 a month subscription. That customer cash funded their growth initially, and they eventually sold to Pearson PLC for over $200 million. Amazing outcome.
And it's interesting to compare approaches, like with those flower companies.
Right, Petals for the People versus H. Bloom. Petals started lean, minimal funding, purely customer-funded subscriptions. H. Bloom raised $1.1 million before they even launched, much more traditional VC route.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. H. Bloom eventually acquired Petals' customer list. It just shows how valuable that proven customer traction is, however you achieve it. That list was the real asset.
But subscriptions don't always work, do they? You mentioned some failures.
Definitely not. Manpack socks and underwear subscription
Yep.
didn't last. Shoe Dazzle monthly shoes struggled.
Yeah, I remember those.
It seems subscriptions work best for things people consume regularly, predictably. Perishables, consumables. Not so much for durable goods like shoes or things where your need fluctuates wildly, like maybe underwear.
Right, you don't need a new pair of shoes every month, usually.
So if you're building a subscription business, you gotta ask, does this model make my offering genuinely better and cheaper for the customer? Both. Do you know your numbers cold? Customer acquisition cost? COC? Payback period? Lifetime value, LTV?
The key metrics.
Absolutely crucial. Are you selling something perishable, consumable, or durable? How does that affect churn? Is there any proof your subscribers are spreading the word, helping you go viral? And are you building tech because you truly need it to deliver the service, or just like what you can? Tech for tech's sake kills startups.
Okay, on to number 4, scarcity models. This is where what you're selling is limited by quantity or time or both. And crucially, you pay your supplier after the customer pays you.
Exactly. It's all about managing inventory and creating perceived value. Urgency. Zara is kind of the blueprint in fast fashion, right? Limited runs, new stuff all the time.
Yeah, you see something you like, you better buy it now because it won't be there next week.
Precisely. That encourages quick purchases, ensures demand before they commit too heavily to stock, minimizes risk.
And Vente Privé, the French company, they really invented the online version, the flash sale.
They did. Jacques-Antoine Grandjean.
Oh,
Selling
yeah.
leftover designer fashion. Deep discounts, but only for a few days. And the absolutely brilliant part, they only placed the order with the designer after the flash sale ended and customers had paid.
So they collected all the cash first.
Yes, they were literally sitting on the float, using customer money to fund the whole operation. Zero inventory risk.
But then competitors popped up, like Gilt Group in the U.S.
Right. Gilt copied the model almost exactly, grew super fast with loads of VC money, but they really struggled with profitability later on. Maybe too much funding too soon. Didn't manage the float as tightly.
Interesting contrast.
But scarcity can work, even with funding, if the fundamentals are right. Look at Zulity. Flash sales, but focused on moms and kids. They had a massive IPO, valued at $4.8 billion.
Wow. Why did they succeed where others struggled?
Well, solid business model, real revenues from the start. And they tapped into a genuine scarcity. It was hard for small kids' brands to get distribution. Zulily gave them access. The vendors needed them.
But there were failures too, right? Like Totsi.
Yeah, Totsi, similar space, moms and kids, raised a lot of money too, but they burned through it. High customer acquisition costs, couldn't make the model stick, failed. And Lot 18, trying flash sales for wine, that didn't work either.
Why not wine?
Probably because wine isn't really scarce in the same way. It's stable, regulated. There wasn't that same urgency to buy now. The model didn't fit the product category.
Okay, so for scarcity models, the key questions are,
How deep are your relationships with vendors? Is the scarcity real or just hype? Because customers figure that out. Is it easy to copy? How will you stand out? Are you tracking paying customers and their long-term value, not just free members? Big difference.
right, vanity metrics versus real business.
Exactly. And what's your growth plan? Get big fast with VC cash or grow at a sustainable customer-funded pace. They require different strategies. And finally, is your business maybe too dependent on a certain economic climate? Like, does it only work in a downturn when people hunt for deals?
Okay, last one. Model number 5. Service-to-product models.
Yeah.
This is starting with custom services, then turning that expertise into a scalable product.
Yeah, it's a really powerful transition if you can pull it off. From one-off projects to something repeatable you can sell widely. Even giants like Microsoft basically did this.
Really? How so?
Well, early on, Bill Gates and Paul Allen wrote custom software for clients. Famously, the operating system for IBM's first PC. That was a service. Then they productized things like Word, Excel shrink-wrap software they could sell to millions. Building for one, then selling to many.
Go viral is another amazing story here.
Truly inspiring. Klaus Mosholm and Jimmy Mayman, Danish entrepreneurs, built Go Viral, an online video distribution platform with absolutely zero outside capital.
Zero. No.
Zero. They started doing consulting, figuring out online video promotion for clients, refined their approach, figured out cost-per-view models, built their own tech platform to automate it all, that was the product, and then sold the company for nearly $100 million. All built on customer funding and deep expertise.
And rock-solid technologies.
Similar idea, Angel Perez in Puerto Rico. His company did custom IT projects, ERP CRM stuff for local governments, high-touch service. He saw the common needs, the patterns, and turned that knowledge into a scalable, cloud-based SaaS product for municipalities. Again, totally funded by the cash flow from the initial service business.
But not every service business has to become a product business to scale, right?
Absolutely not. Quest Global Services is a good example of that.
Yeah.
They do high-end outsourced engineering services, huge company now. They did take external funding later, but it was to scale the service business, seize opportunities, acquire other service firms.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily need to pivot to a product. Sometimes scaling the service itself is the right move. You need to know which path fits.
So, if you're thinking about making that service-to-product jump, what should you consider?
Okay, critical questions. What specific insights did you gain from doing the service work? Insights that make you believe a product version is really compelling. Will turning it into a product open up big new markets you couldn't reach before? Do you have the right people? Product development, product marketing. That's often different talent than service delivery.
Good point. Different skills.
Yeah. And are you really ready for the change in pace? Services can be slower, steadier. Products, especially VC-backed ones, often aim for that rocket ship growth. Are you prepared for that shift? And the fundamental question, should you actually productize? Or is scaling the service business the smarter play for you?
Okay, so we've covered these 5 models, lots of ways to be customer funded. What does this all boil down to? What are the key takeaways for entrepreneurs listening? Or even investors looking for these kinds of resilient companies?
Well, there seem to be some general qualities, right? Things that define these customer-funded entrepreneurs. Courage, for one. Audacity, even. To ask for what you want, especially asking for payment upfront or early.
Yeah, you got to ask.
Turning youth or inexperience into an asset. Like Banana Republic's quirky start. Making it charming, not a liability. Having the conviction to ignore the doubters. And that ability to turn setbacks, lemons into lemonade. Resilience again. And just fundamentally under-promising and over-delivering to customers every single time. They're your lifeline.
Treat your customers like gold. Makes sense.
And then there's just solid business sense. Acumen. You absolutely must understand the difference between cash flow and profit. Cash is king, especially early on. Profit comes later, maybe.
Really Steve's the lights on.
Exactly. You need a willingness to innovate, maybe even break some rules, not just copy what everyone else is doing. Being able to delegate effectively as you grow, knowing your core strengths and building your reputation around them, and just leveraging your own skills, your own unique capabilities. What do you bring? Investors look for that clarity.
And what about knowing your market? Marketing savvy.
Oh, absolutely crucial. You need to know your target market inside out. Precisely. And how do you know them? Gut feel isn't enough. Can you segment that market effectively? Find those initial customers who feel the pain most acutely.
The early adopters.
Yes. Can you make your small startup look credible? Bigger than it is, like Dell's 30-day guarantee back then, or Banana Republic's whole, theatrical approach. It built trust and intrigue.
Yeah, the image matters.
And if you're selling to consumers, can you be quirky or inventive enough to get noticed? Get some free media buzz like Airbnb did with the cereal. You need attention, but you don't have a big budget.
Okay, so this isn't just theory. How do you actually make this happen? How do you start your customer-funded journey?
Well, first off, these lessons aren't just for brand new startups. They apply just as much if you're trying to innovate inside a bigger company.
Right, entrepreneurs too.
And a key point about timing. If you do decide to seek external capital later, when's the best time? It's after you've got real customer traction, after you've proven the model works with customer money.
Because then you're less risky.
Way less risky, and much more attractive to investors. You're negotiating from a position of strength, not desperation. You get better terms.
And the how? How do you actually build it day to day?
It's all about iterating, constantly talking to and learning from your target customers, trying out different pricing models. Maybe subscriptions don't work, but pay in advance does. You have to experiment. Understanding that if you transition, say, from service to product, you'll likely need new skills, new relationships. Be ready for that. And be prepared maybe for a short period where you're less profitable. Like if you shift from a profitable service business to investing in a new product launch, it might dip before it grows.
Okay, and why now? Why is this customer-funded mindset so important today?
Because ultimately, focusing intensely on your customers, on solving their problems, on getting them to pay you, that's the best way to win. Better than spending all your time chasing investors. Your competitors might be doing that while you're busy building a real business.
Yeah, focus on the wrong thing.
Exactly. And honestly, there's an intrinsic reward here that often gets missed. It's just a lot more fun solving real customer problems than constantly pandering to investors. It keeps you grounded in what actually matters.
Fantastic. So there you have it. The incredible power, the versatility of these customer-funded models. Matchmakers, pay in advance, subscriptions, scarcity, service to product. Lots of paths. It proves you don't always need that big investor check to get started, or even to scale something really significant.
So the final thought for you, maybe a provocative one, the best money. It comes from customers, not investors. Think about which of these models might spark something for you. Your own venture, or maybe transforming your current business. The challenge is out there. Ring that cash register. Get on that customer-focused path, see where it takes you.